very few people ever talk about mindfulness in terms of productivity, because most people think of mindfulness just doing nothing, right? Being a monk or something like that. But this is absolutely critical. It's been critical to my productivity, and as I'll point out, some of the most productive people in the world. So here's a common myth about productivity. Would you all agree with this? Doing a lot of stuff does not mean you're necessarily producing anything. Raise your hand if you have a friend, and it might be you, but if it's you, you can keep your hand down. Raise your hand if you have a friend who every time you talk to them and you say, oh, how are you doing? The first thing they say is, oh, I'm so crazy busy. I got this thing, and I'm doing that thing, and I'm doing this thing. And we all know somebody like that, right? How productive are they? Usually these are the least productive people I know. Conversely, now I'm not suggesting you do this. Very few of you, if any of you, are in this position. You all know who Warren Buffett is, right? Without a doubt, the most successful investor of capital ever. Probably one of the top 5 or 10 business leaders in the world. This will give you an idea of how efficient Berkshire Hathaway is. They're the second or third largest company in the world. You know how many executives they have and board members? I think it's like 14. Think about that. They're running almost $1 trillion market cap company with 14 executives and board of directors. That's some pretty crazy efficiency, right? Have you ever heard anything about Warren Buffett's calendar? On a typical day, it'll have one thing on it, like get a haircut. Now again, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you do exactly that. It might get many of you in trouble. The point here is Warren Buffett spends about 90% of his time learning and thinking, and 10% of his time executing. If you think about that person that we thought about, they're spending 100% of their time executing and never thinking about things at a strategic level. So they're never doing anything that matters. When Warren Buffett takes action, it's like there's $100 million in profit in 5 minutes. Because he's thinking about things at a very high level before he takes action. So this is something that develops very, very naturally with mindfulness training. You've all heard of that perspective, like of thinking strategically is like having a 30,000-foot view. This is exactly what you experience when you train mindfulness. It's all of a sudden, it's with that space that I was talking about, it's like you're getting out of the day-to-day grind, and now you can see things from that 30,000-foot level. And now when you act, you may actually be doing fewer things, but the things that you do matter. So you develop this clarity on what's actually going to move the needle. So if I'm going to do something, and this actually, have any of you heard of the Pareto principle? This is a very common idea that somewhere between 10 and 20% of your actual efforts results in roughly 80% of your outcomes. And 80% of what you're doing only results in 10 to 20% of your outcomes. So an example, this is something that I've counseled quite a few organizations to do, is this actually is true with customers a lot of the times, is you'll have 80% of your customers are a pain in the butt, they're a customer service nightmare, and they're producing almost no profit for you, and they're just sucking up your organization's time and your heart and your energy. 20% of your customers are just amazing. You love working with them, and they're driving all of your results. And I've seen many organizations do this, and again, I'm not advising you to do this right now, but food for thought. They will systematically fire their 80% of their customers, and immediately their profits just go through the roof. People love coming to work more. Everything is improved by doing that one simple thing. So this is something that you can do when you have this type of clarity. Another benefit of how this relates to productivity is that think about how much energy we waste in negative thinking, unpleasant emotions like anxiety or fear or anger. By training mindfulness, improving our emotional intelligence, the less time that we're spending with negative thought patterns, with negative emotions, the less energy we're just wasting on useless stuff, and the more energy we have to devote to what matters.